Welcome to the True Guy Globe Brief Updates. Subscribe and press the bell icon for updates. Beijing, July 19, 2025. The city awakens under a golden sky, its streets alive with the pulse of ambition and routine. But beneath this surface, a story is quietly unfolding, one that will soon ripple far beyond these city limits. In the guarded corridors of power, a new story is emerging, one that challenges everything we thought we knew about General Wei Jin, the Iron Dragon. For years his name inspired both fear and respect, a symbol of unwavering authority within China's military elite. Known for his cold resolve and strategic brilliance, General Wei was a master of power and control. His decisions shaped the fate of nations, and his reputation for discipline was legendary among his peers and subordinates alike. But recently uncovered journals reveal a different man, one whose iron will was quietly transformed by the spirit of the Filipino people. These pages, filled with personal reflections, hint at a profound inner struggle and a journey of unexpected self-discovery. The revelation began with a leaked photograph. General Wei, in plain clothes, standing in a humble Philippine chapel, head bowed. The image spread quickly, raising questions and speculation across both nations. How did China's most formidable general end up here, far from the halls of power, seeking solace in a place so different from his own world? What drew him to this quiet sanctuary, away from the eyes of his government and the expectations of his rank? The answer lies in a journey meant for intelligence gathering, but which became a personal revolution. Sent to observe, he instead found himself immersed in the daily lives of the Filipino people, witnessing their resilience, kindness, and unwavering hope. His secret wasn't about military plans, but about a shift in his own heart. The journals reveal moments of doubt, empathy, and a growing admiration for the very people he was sent to study. This story forces us to reconsider the nature of strength, not just in armies or politics, but in simple acts of humanity. True power, it seems, can be found in compassion, in the willingness to listen, and in the courage to change. In an era of rising tensions, the idea that a hardened leader could be moved by a foreign culture offers hope. It reminds us that even the most formidable walls can be breached by understanding and connection. The story of General Wei Jin is a testament to the power of the human spirit to change even the most unyielding hearts. In the end, it is not just a tale of one man, but a reminder that transformation is possible, even in the most unlikely of places. Before his fateful trip, General Wei Jin embodied modern Chinese military doctrine. Brilliant, disciplined, and unyielding. He saw the world in black and white, assets and threats, strength and weakness. Emotions were liabilities, compassion a flaw. His reputation as the Iron Dragon was legendary, his loyalty to the state unquestioned. The mission to the Philippines was just another assignment. Assess vulnerabilities, document weaknesses. He arrived in Manila, detached and critical, uninterested in culture or people. The city's chaos seemed to confirm his prejudices. He cataloged data for his report, seeing the Philippines as a strategic pawn, not a nation of people. He was the Iron Dragon, immune to distraction, or so he thought, but the city he dismissed was about to dismantle his worldview. General Wei's world began to crack the moment he met Clarice, a university lecturer and his local liaison in Manila. He had arrived expecting a routine assignment, bracing himself for the usual formalities and distant interactions that came with his position. But Clarice was different. Her warmth was immediate, her smile genuine, so unlike the formality he expected from official hosts. She greeted him not as a duty, but as if welcoming an old friend, her eyes shining with sincerity. Clarice introduced him to Bayanihan, the Filipino spirit of communal unity, and the deep importance of family and faith. She explained how neighbors supported each other, how families gathered in prayer, and how faith was woven into daily life. At first he dismissed it as mere sentimentality, a cultural quirk he could observe from a distance, but he couldn't ignore how she treated everyone with kindness and respect, regardless of their status or background. He watched as people responded to her, their faces lighting up, barriers falling away. It was as if her presence alone could dissolve tension and invite trust. His official meetings were sterile, filled with protocol and careful words. Yet the moments in between, walking through campus, sharing coffee, observing daily life, began to affect him in ways he hadn't anticipated. He noticed small acts of kindness everywhere. A jeepney driver sharing his lunch with a stranger, people pausing to help each other cross busy streets, laughter echoing through open windows. These weren't transactions, they were genuine connections, moments of real human warmth that seemed to flow naturally in this city. One evening Clarice invited him off the official itinerary. "Tonight I want to show you something real," she said, her voice full of promise and excitement. Hesitant but curious, he agreed, feeling a mix of anticipation and uncertainty. He wondered what she could possibly show him that would be so different from what he already knew. He stepped out into the humid night, leaving behind the world of strategy, protocol, and rigid expectations. The city buzzed with life, and he felt a strange sense of freedom. He was about to enter the world of the human heart, a world where kindness, connection, and community mattered more than titles or rank. What he found that night would challenge everything he believed about strength, leadership, and what it truly meant to belong. The Iron Dragon, once unyielding and distant, was about to be changed forever by the simple, profound power of Filipino kindness. Clarice brought General Wei to a modest home for her nephew's birthday. The air was filled with music, laughter, and the smell of grilled meat. Out of place, he was quickly welcomed by Clarice's grandmother. "Tonight, you are family." At the table, he saw food shared freely, stories and laughter uniting everyone. There was no hierarchy, just belonging. Later, walking through poorer neighborhoods, he saw families with little sharing what they had. A woman gave part of her meal to elderly neighbors, no government program, just spontaneous generosity. It was a wealth measured not in money, but in spirit. He'd been taught that poverty bred desperation, but here he saw dignity and resilience. The Filipino spirit was not weakness, it was a formidable force. The Iron Dragon began to understand there are powers his textbooks never mentioned. True strength was found in community, not control. The lesson was just beginning. The most profound moment came in a bustling market. General Wei watched a hungry boy with a small loaf of bread. Instead of eating it, the boy broke it in half and gave the larger piece to an old, frail man. The man's gratitude was silent but deep. The boy simply smiled and walked away. General Wei was stunned. In his world, strength meant taking, hoarding, dominating. But here, a child showed him a different kind of power. The strength to give when you have almost nothing. That single act shattered his rigid definitions. What was military might compared to the power of empathy? The Iron Dragon felt a deep shift within. He had come to find weakness, but discovered a strength that made his own feel hollow. The boy with the bread had taught him more than any academy ever could. Back in Beijing, General Wei resumed his role, delivering reports and attending meetings with his usual precision. But his official report was a hollow shell. The real truth haunted him in private. Memories of Clarice, the family feast, and the boy with the bread returned night after night. He began to fill a private journal, writing not as a general, but as a man in turmoil. "True strength is not in the fist that clenches, but in the hand that opens," he wrote. During war simulations he saw faces, not targets. His iron resolve was corroded by empathy. Colleagues noticed a change. He was more reserved, contemplative. No one guessed the Iron Dragon was at war with himself. He was torn between the man he was trained to be and the man the Philippines had shown him he could become. The ghost of the Filipino spirit followed him everywhere. A year after the uneasy truce, tensions flared once more in the South China Sea. The world watched as rival naval forces gathered, their ships bristling with weapons, circling the disputed waters. The air was thick with uncertainty, and the threat of conflict loomed larger than ever. Inside a fortified command center, the War Council convened. The atmosphere was tense, every eye fixed on General Wei. The council demanded escalation, expecting him to deliver a ruthless plan that would assert dominance and crush resistance. But as the general spoke of strategy and power, Wei's thoughts drifted elsewhere. He remembered the people he'd met, the young boy with hope in his eyes, the family who had shown him kindness, and Clarice, whose courage had left a mark on his soul. He saw, in his mind's eye, the faces of innocent civilians, families huddled together, children watching the news with fear, ordinary people who would suffer most in the crossfire of war. When his turn came, Wei rose slowly. He spoke quietly, his voice steady but resolute. Strength is not always aggression. True power lies in restraint and wisdom. He argued passionately that the Filipino spirit was a force to be respected, not broken. Their resilience and unity, he said, could not be crushed by force. Aggression, he warned, would only unite the Filipino people against China, forging a resistance that would grow stronger with every act of violence. Instead, he proposed a bold alternative: de-escalation, open dialogue, and genuine partnership. Only through cooperation could lasting peace and influence be achieved. The room fell silent. His words hung in the air, challenging old beliefs. The council was stunned, but his arguments were strategic, clear, and impossible to ignore. Wei spoke of long-term influence, not just short-term victory. He outlined a vision where respect and understanding would secure China's place in the region for generations. The soft power of respect, he said, endures far longer than the fleeting triumphs of force. Friendship and trust are the true foundations of strength. In that moment, Wei risked everything, his career, his reputation, for a truth he'd learned from a boy with a simple loaf of bread. Compassion can change the course of history. The Iron Dragon, once feared for his might, had chosen a new path, one of courage, empathy, and hope. As dawn broke over the South China Sea, the seeds of change were planted, promising a future shaped not by war, but by understanding and peace. General Wei's stand didn't spark immediate change, but his words planted doubt. The plan for escalation was shelved. Diplomacy prevailed. Quietly, he became an advocate for a new relationship with the Philippines. He promoted officers who valued cultural understanding and soft power. He wrote essays under a pseudonym, arguing for partnership over coercion. His ideas gained a small but growing following among younger leaders. In a speech at the military academy, he spoke of true strength, generosity, community, resilience. A nation that underestimates the spirit of its neighbors is strategically blind, he declared. His actions were a quiet rebellion, using his intellect for peace. The risks were immense, but the memory of the boy with the bread gave him courage. The Iron Dragon was now playing a different game. General Wei Jin passed away quietly, honored as the Iron Dragon. The official story was sealed, but whispers of his transformation spread. His journals, discovered by his daughter, revealed the truth. In a rural Philippine chapel, his photo hangs, a pilgrim who found peace. The locals remember him not as a general, but as a man changed by kindness. His legacy lives on in the officers he mentored and the essays he wrote. His most enduring lesson: the true measure of a nation's strength is not the height of its skyscrapers, but the depth of its soul. It is not in the power to intimidate, but in the grace to share your last piece of bread. Let us remember the boy with the bread, and the lesson he taught the world. The greatest power on earth is the unbreakable kindness of the human heart.